Hi, I'm Christina Whitney, a Handi Quilter studio educator. Let me tell you about our Ruler of the Month Club 8, Boundless Borders. Let's talk about some ruler safety. One of the most important things that you need to have are your ruler base. It's the little tabletop that goes underneath the fabric that's going to extend that table out. You also want to make sure you have a surefoot. This surefoot has the higher profile to prevent the rulers from hopping over and causing damage. So those two things you definitely want to have. The third thing is handy grip. It is just a little sticky sandpaper that you put on the back of your rulers that helps to hold the ruler in place so it's not shifting as you're quilting. So those are the three things that you will want to have with working with rulers. This next ruler is our cable template, and it is super cool. It's a little bit trickier to work with because you have to follow some steps, but all of those instructions are on the back of your package, and we're going to show you some different ways that you can use it today. For this ruler, I highly recommend putting handy grip on, and you want the handy grip where your hand is going to be holding that ruler. So play with that ruler and see where your hand placement is so that you can get the grip in the best place. You're going to be doing a lot of backtracking, so that's why it's important that your ruler doesn't shift. I'm going to show you three different ways. This first one I call the completed cable, where the top is connected all of the way as well as the bottom. This next one, you can see every other one is left open. Okay. This one down here, I just did a partial. So if you get down to a little tiny border and you want a wave kind of look, you don't have to use the entire cable. You can just do part of it. Okay, the third one is actually over here. And if you look at this one, every one on the top, every other one on the top is open and every other one on the bottom is open. So let me show you how we're going to do each one of those. We're going to start with the closed one. I'm going to put this in position here. Oops. Okay, for the first one, we are going to start on number 1. And on the template, it's got this line right here, and it also has etches that show your previous stitches. So those will be really helpful to keep things lined up. Okay, I am going to line that up on my seam. And I'm actually going to go up just a tiny bit. Oh, my needle's down. Can't move it when the needle's down. Move it up just a tiny bit to give myself some wiggle room. Okay? I am now going to stitch from number 1 all the way down to number 2. Then I'm going to backtrack to 4, stop with my needle in the down position, and shift the ruler over to number 1. So let's go through that. 1 to 2, hugging the ruler. I'm going to pause there just for a second, get a good point, and then backtracking until I get to number 4. Stop with the needle down and shift over to number 1. Okay, lining up with my seam. And this point, excuse me, this point where I ended that last one, I want to make sure that that is 1/4 of an inch away from my ruler because that's where I'm going to actually touch. So we're going to go down to number 2. See how I hit that point right there? Get to number 2, track, up to number 4. Shift the ruler. We'll do one more, lining it up. Let's stitch all the way down. And back to 4. So you can see how I closed in the tops and the bottoms of that one. Okay, let's move down to another section. And we'll do one that has the bottom open. So for this one, I'm going to put it in position here. I'm lining up with my seam. Going to do a tie off. So for this one, I'm going to start at number 1. I'm going to stitch down to number 2, just like I did on the last one. But I'm going to stop with my needle down in number 2, shift the ruler over to number 3, and then stitch up to number 1. Then I'm going to back stitch to number 4 and shift the ruler again. So a little bit confusing. You'll get the hang of it. So 1 to 2, let's just start with that part. Okay, from 2, I'm going to slide over so that number 3 is lined up with my needle, keeping the lines straight with my seam. From 3, I'm going to stitch up to number 1. Okay, from number 1, I am going to back stitch back to number 4. Then I'm going to shift my ruler over to number 1, and let's do that one more time. 1 to 2. From 2, we're going to slide the ruler to number 3, stitch from 3 to 1, and that's stitching all the way back to 1. That's matching up and closing that top. Okay, back stitching to number 4, and then shifting over to 1. Okay, let's. So that is the second way that you can do it, with the top closed and the bottom open on every other one. Let's do one more over here. This last one is the wave that is open on the top and the bottom. So for the wave, we're going to put it into number 1. Okay, hugging that ruler there. And you'll notice that my thumb is right on this handy grip and my fingers are right on this piece, and that's how I'm holding that ruler in place. So I'm going to go from 1 to 2. Slide to 3. Stitch to 4. Slide to 1. Okay, again, 1 to 2. Slide to 3. Stitch to 4. Slide to 1. Okay, I'll move that out of the way, I guess. So 3 different ways that you can use this ruler. I'm sure you can come up with other ways. Post on social media. We want to see what you're doing. But again, this is our cable template, so have fun with it.